Here are the top stories for today, June 29, 2021. No space for complacency. The general community quarantine with some restrictions remains in effect in the NCR Plus bubble until July 15. Keeping out COVID-19, the country extends the travel ban in countries with a high number of cases of the Delta variant of COVID-19. Cleaning up the police force, the PNP targets for removal cops who engage in partisan politics in time for the coming elections. And fast-tracking steps to go green, the government works on getting stakeholders to phase out plastic stirrers and drinking straws. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Travel restrictions are in place among travelers from United Arab Emirates, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh until July 15. The ban, which supposedly ends tomorrow, has been extended due to high cases of the more transmissible Delta variant of the coronavirus.
In-extend po na inyong IATF ang travel restrictions sa India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, United Arab Emirates at Oman hanggang 15 ng Hulyo ngayong taon. Isa itong proactive measures sa patuloy na pagpapatupad ng international border control dahil sa COVID-19 Delta variant. Kahapon po may nagtanong kung magkakaroon ng travel ban din po sa Indonesia. Wala pong travel ban sa Indonesia, bagamat papaintingin po natin ang ating border control dahil pinagbabawal naman po ang pagpasok ng mga dayuhan except kung meron po silang mga long-term visas.
The General Community Quarantine or GCQ classification has been extended in the National Capital Region Plus. In the latest announcement, Laguna and Cavite will be under GCQ with heightened restrictions, while Metro Manila, Rizal, and Bulacan are under GCQ with some restrictions. Ifugao Province, City of Santiago, Guimaras, Aklan, Bacolod City, Negros Occidental, Antique, Capiz, Zamboanga, Sibugay, City of Zamboanga, Agusan del Norte, Surigao del Norte, and Agusan del Sur will also be placed under GCQ in the next 15 days, while Baguio City, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Batangas, Quezon, Ilagan City, General Santos City, Sultan Kudarat, Sarangani, Cotabato, South Cotabato, and Cotabato City will be under GCQ until July 31. Other provinces will be placed under the modified ECQ for the whole month of July. These are Cagayan, Apayao, Bataan, Zamboanga del Sur, Zamboanga del Norte, Dumagat Islands, Negros Oriental, and Surigao del Sur. Also placed under the month-long MECQ are the cities of Lucena City, Puerto Princesa, Naga City, Iloilo City, Iloilo. Meanwhile, Davao Oriental, Davao Occidental, Davao de Oro, Davao del Sur, and Davao del Norte are also under MECQ but only up to July 15. The rest of the country will be placed under modified GCQ.
Sa ilalim ng heightened restriction po, wala pong entertainment, walang recreational venues, walang amusement parks, walang traditional cockfighting, wala pong contact sports, walang indoor sports, walang indoor tourist attraction. 30% po ang allowed for services sa mga personal care services kasama ang salons, parlors at beauty clinics. 30% po ang allowed sa outdoor tourist attraction. Allowed naman po ang staycation hotels basta susunod po sa minimum public health standards, safety protocols at saka wala rin po itong age restriction. 20% po ang kanilang indoor dining pero kapag merong safety seal po pwedeng maging additional 10% at sa outdoor dining ay 50%. No? Yung mga religious worship po, mga wake sa GCQ with heightened restrictions ay limitado po to 10%. Allowed po ang interzonal travel pero subject to destination LGU restrictions.
Fully vaccinated inbound travelers will still have to undergo the mandatory 7-day quarantine. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says this guideline also covers those who have received 2 doses of COVID-19 vaccines in other countries.
Required pa rin sumailalim sa 7 araw na facility-based quarantine pagdating sa bansa, whether fully vaccinated sa Pilipinas or abroad. Ang kanilang date of arrival ang magsisilbing unang araw ng quarantine. Titiyakin po ng Bureau of Quarantine ang strict symptom monitoring habang nasa facility quarantine ng 7 araw ang duly vaccinated na pasahero. Pagkaraan ng 7 araw ay kailangan pa rin mag-self-monitoring for another 7 days. Sa mga pasaherong nasa 7-day fully facility quarantine, kailangan nilang mag-RT-PCR testing sa pang-5 araw ng kanilang facility-based quarantine. Kung sakaling mag-negatibo, kailangan pa rin kumpletuhin ang 7 araw ng facility quarantine. At kung sakali namang mag-positibo, kinakailangan sundin ang prescribed isolation protocols.
All master-listed healthcare workers nationwide have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said the government is working hard to secure more vaccines for our countrymen to achieve population protection and herd immunity within the year.
Yung number 2 po ay natutuwa po kami, Mr. President, na i-report po sa inyo na yung lahat ng master-listed na healthcare workers ay nabakunahan na po natin. At meron na po tayong more or less 1,131,498 that already received the second dose.
The National Task Force Against COVID-19 says the viral video of a healthcare worker who allegedly forgot to inject the COVID-19 jab to a female recipient was an isolated case. The details from Lade Cabagani.
Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon of the National Task Force Against COVID-19 appealed for understanding over the lapse of a healthcare worker in administering the COVID-19 jab to a female recipient in Makati City. Dizon said the Department of Health and the Vaccine Task Force immediately probed the violation of vaccination protocol caught on video. The incident was also reported to the Makati Mayor's office. Dizon said the patient went back to the vaccination site the day after and got her dose. Makati Mayor Abigail Binay also issued an apology saying it was a human error that was immediately corrected. Binay also appealed for understanding saying all frontliners are working hard to continue providing services amid the pandemic. She also pleaded the netizens stop bashing the nurse, especially without evidence. Meanwhile, DOH Secretary Francisco Duque III says the incident is being taken seriously and is currently under investigation in coordination with the local government of Makati City. He also reminds vaccinators to take extra care and attention during inoculation. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Lade Cabagani.
The average number of new COVID-19 cases in the National Capital Region, or NCR, decreased by 9% over the past 7 days. In its latest monitoring report, the Octa Research Group says infections for the period of June 14 to 20 decreased to 667 new cases per day from 731 per day. Positivity rate remains at 7% over the past week, with 36% hospital bed occupancy, 45% ICU bed occupancy, and 32% mechanical ventilator occupancy, all within safe levels. The group says Navotas, San Juan, and Pateros had the fewest new cases per day at less than 10 per day. Other provinces also show negative growth rates such as Bacolod, Iloilo City, Cagayan de Oro, Baguio City, Tacloban, Tagum, and Zamboanga City. The group also advised about ensuring safe workplaces and strict border controls to prevent the entry of the Delta variant. Baguio City plans to acquire an instrument that measures air circulation, as health experts say that enclosed spaces pose the risk of getting the virus. Mayor Benjamin Magalong said initially the air circulation from one of the private companies in the city and found that the air circulation was not enough in one of their offices where the COVID-19 case outbreak occurred. Magalong said they are planning to buy the instrument to protect the workers from the possibility of getting infected with the virus. Magalong emphasized the importance of having good ventilation, whether in homes, workplaces, or any establishment, in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Negotiations are underway to set up a vaccine manufacturing plant in the country. Philippine Ambassador to Canada Rodolfo Robles said talks are already in progress between the Philippine government and a Canadian biopharmaceutical company. In an online palace briefing, Robles said the negotiations with Medicago would proceed more rapidly and formally after getting the non-disclosure agreement approved by the government through the Department of Science and Technology, or DOST. Robles said the Philippines has also expressed interest in getting some of the excess COVID-19 vaccines from around 100 million doses from Canada. He said Canada has 180 million COVID-19 vaccine doses with a population of only about 40 million. Still to come, Malacanang says the proposal to give firearms to anti-crime volunteers is not yet a policy. 3 of the PNP's offices work on hunting down fugitive drug lord Peter Lim. Details ahead, this is the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic, because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. Malacanang points out that President Rodrigo Duterte's proposal to arm civilian volunteers in fighting crime is not a policy yet. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said, while President Duterte is open to the idea of arming anti-crime volunteers, the proposal still needs to undergo completed staff work. Roque said he shares the view of Philippine National Police Chief Guillermo Eleazar that the proposals is to ensure they could defend themselves against criminal elements. Duterte floated the idea during the launch of the Global Coalition of Lingkod Bayan Advocacy Support Groups and Force Multipliers in Camp Crame on Friday. Commission on Human Rights spokesperson Jacqueline Ann de Guia, meanwhile, warned that arming civilians without proper training, qualification, and accountabilities may lead to lawlessness and proliferation of arms. Eleazar, however, assured that the president's suggestion is to encourage volunteerism rather than vigilantism. Philippine National Police Chief General Guillermo Eleazar has ordered an accounting of all dismissed drug cases since 2016 as part of the intensified cleanliness policy. Eleazar said data on these cases would help the PNP leadership determine the interventions needed so that the junking of drug cases by the courts would be avoided in the future. He said the PNP is aiming to improve the conviction rate, particularly in drug-related cases, to show the success of the campaign against illegal drugs. He added that they are also looking into the alleged negligence of police officers as well as those who are in cahoots with drug suspects. Since the start of the government's relentless campaign against illegal drugs in July of 2016, over 289,000 suspects were arrested in about 200,000 operations. Meanwhile, Eleazar warned all police personnel to refrain from engaging in partisan politics less than a year before the country's next elections. This came as the National Police Commission dismissed from the service 6 policemen in Negros Oriental for grave misconduct and grave irregularities. The 6 cops were also found to have subjected the Moises Padilla Town Vice Mayor Elia Garcia Yulo to an illegal search and seizure in 2017. The NAPOLCOM learned that Yulo was planning to run for mayor in 2019 against then-incumbent Mayor Magdaleno Peña. Eleazar said those found engaging in partisan politics could lose their benefits. The Department of Justice said there are no immigration records of fugitive illegal drugs kingpin Peter Go Lim fleeing the country. Lim has gone missing since a Makati court issued a warrant for his arrest and a whole departure order in August 2018. Lim's Philippine passport expired in 2019 and his last recorded foreign travel was in 2017. Lim's last known address was in Cebu. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara, however, noted the country has an extensive coastline and there are known backdoors in the southern borders. Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año himself said in a recent radio interview that Lim may already be out of the country. Meanwhile, Philippine National Police Chief Guillermo Eleazar on Monday ordered the PNP Directorate for Intelligence, Drug Enforcement Group, and Criminal Investigation and Detection Group to determine the whereabouts of Lim. Eleazar said that once they get validated information, they can make the necessary coordination with their foreign counterparts. Lim is facing charges of conspiracy to commit illegal drug trade. He was tagged as the supplier of drug lord Kerwin Espinosa and his group operating in Cebu in 2013 and in 2014. The Philippine Statistics Authority warns PhilID users to beware of certain acts that can lead to the deactivation of their national ID. The PSA said the PhilID can be deactivated on certain grounds. One's condition is when the applicant submitted falsified supporting documents during registration or requested for change in information. Other grounds for deactivation are misinterpretation in any form during and after registration and fraudulent application of the biometrics. The PSA will still investigate before deactivating the PhilSys number or PSN that will block the PhilID from further use. The PSN is also unique for each holder and cannot be assigned to another individual. A person with a deactivated PSN shall not be given a new PSN. PhilSys registrants were reminded to be honest in providing the needed information or personal details upon registration to avoid deactivation of the PSN. More than 1,000 workers from Camarines Sur have received government assistance through the Tulong Pangkabuhayan sa Ating Displaced Workers Program of the Department of Labor and Employment. Dole Bicol Director Maria Zenaida Angara Campita said Dole allocated 6.6 million pesos for some 1,300 beneficiaries. Each beneficiary received 5,000 pesos for 16 days of work based on the region's daily minimum wage of 310 pesos. Campita said the Labor Department would continue to implement the program so that more Bicolanos could benefit from it. TUPAD provides emergency employment to displaced workers, underemployed, and seasonal workers for 10 to 30 days. Up next, 14 former rebels in Negros Oriental received their much-awaited aid from the government. And Metro Manila mayors eye a uniform penalty against those throwing waste into the Pasig River and other waterways. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Some 14 rebels of the New People's Army in Negros Oriental have received financial assistance through the government's Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP. The Philippine Army said each beneficiary received immediate assistance worth 15,000 pesos, while 6 of them received livelihood assistance of 50,000 pesos. 4 of them also received firearms remuneration. ECLIP Committee Chair Governor Roel De Gamo and 302nd Infantry Brigade Commander Colonel Leonardo Peña turned over the cash assistance to the beneficiaries at the Negros Oriental Convention Center. The distribution of benefits and cash assistance is part of the government's ECLIP program for former NPA rebels who have returned to the fold of the law. A people's group in Lanao del Norte surrendered assorted firearms to the government as part of efforts to promote peace and development in the provinces. More on this from Claire Gighe.
Members of the People's Organization in Sultanaga de Maporo, Lanao del Norte handed over high-powered firearms to the government as proof of their commitment to the attainment of lasting peace in the province. Lieutenant Colonel Julius Librada, commanding officer of the 5th Mechanized Infantry Battalion, and Sultanaga de Maporo, Mayor Mutalib de Maporo, received at the Sangguniang Bayan of this municipality the firearms consisting of an M1 Garand rifle, M16A1, 7.62 mm sniper rifle, as well as 1 short steel magazine and 17 assorted ammunitions.
Isip nila na mag-hand over nito mga firearms ito bilang tanda ng sincere sila na magbalik na talaga sa government at sa pamahalaan natin at makikooperate na sa ating armed forces para magkaroon talaga ng tunay na kapayapaan daw sa lugar nila and especially dito sa buong Lanao del Norte.
Librada said members of Ilian Banana Farmers Association decided to hand over the firearms, seeing the sincerity of the battalion in helping them avail of government support such as free fertilizers and cash assistance under the Tulong Panghanap Buhay sa ating disadvantaged o displaced workers or TUPAD. The 5th MEC also assisted them in registering their association with the Department of Labor and Employment and the Securities and Exchange Commission so that they can avail of the government's livelihood programs. Isha Makad, Vice President of the association, expressed his gratitude to the battalion for bringing them closer to the government.
Salamat kayo sa inyong pagtulong kanamo mahitungod sa programa sa gobyerno na inyong ipaabot kanamo. Mo kana nagpasalamat kayo ni.
For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gigha of the Philippine Information Agency, Iligan City Information Center.
The Commission on Elections has surpassed its target number of new voter registrants for the 2022 national and local elections. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez said they have registered around 4.3 million new voters, which exceeded their expectations from back in 2019. At the same time, the poll body official is looking to have at least 60 million registered voters for next year's national polls. He, however, said they are expecting the voter turnout to be lower than the number of registered voters. The COMELEC registered a 75% voter turnout in the 2019 midterm elections, where only 46.3 million out of a total 61.8 million voters participated. Meanwhile, 84% of over 54 million voters participated in the 2016 presidential elections. The ongoing nationwide voter registration will end on September 30. In sports, the Perlas Spikers confirmed on Monday night that some of their players have contracted COVID-19. The club has been holding a training camp since May 30 in Baguio as part of its preparations for the upcoming Premier Volleyball League season, which is slated to start on July 17 in Lawag. However, Baguio Mayor Benjamin Magalong said on Friday that some players have indeed tested positive for COVID-19. Some members of the roster happen to have been with the national team. The Philippine Sports Commission had denied on Sunday that the Philippine women's team has put up a training camp in Baguio. On the other hand, Perlas skipper Jem Ferrer belied rumors that the team is staying in teachers' camp. She said they do not go out except for court training and gym training. Ferrer also said those who are negative for COVID-19 are safe, while the positive cases are currently recovering in quarantine facilities. Efforts are underway to fast-track the signing of the draft resolution phasing out plastic coffee stirrers and soft drink straws nationwide. The draft of the initial list of so-called non-environmentally acceptable products, or NEAPs, is now being hand-carried for signing even during the pandemic. Environment Undersecretary Benny Antiporda said he hopes the heads of the National Solid Waste Management Commission, or NSWMC, will sign the document before the end of July. If that happens, stakeholders in the industry of plastic coffee stirrers and soft drink straws will have a one-year grace period to phase out these items. The Department of Science and Technology is also studying several plastic items for possible inclusion in the list. This as marine conservation group Oceana Philippines threatened to sue NSWMC for allegedly failing to implement the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act of 2000, which requires preparation of the NEAP list. Meanwhile, the Metro Manila Council said people caught dumping garbage in the Pasig River or in any waterways in Metro Manila may soon face uniform penalties. MMC and Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, or MMDA Chair Benhur Abalos, said harmonizing the ordinances against littering in waterways is one of the topics being discussed by the MMC members, including NCR mayors. As a more concrete step in keeping waterways clean, he said the MMDA has installed floating trash nets to block garbage from entering its pumping stations. A total of 32 truckloads of trash are collected daily from all 57 pumping stations in Metro Manila. Abalos also asked the public to stop dumping garbage, especially human waste, on waterways. And here's another look at today's biggest stories. No space for complacency. The general community quarantine with some restrictions remains in effect in the NCR Plus bubble until July 15. Keeping out COVID-19, the country extends the travel ban in countries with a high number of cases of the Delta variant of COVID-19. Cleaning up the police force, the PNP targets for removal cops who engage in partisan politics in time for the coming elections. And fast-tracking steps to go green, the government works on getting stakeholders to phase out plastic stirrers and drinking straws. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and ABC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.